Welcome to Behind the Book. Today we're going to be talking with Erica Bears, educator, mentor, and author, and we're going to be talking about Tomboy to Tom's Girl. Stay tuned for more. Welcome to Behind the Book, where I am your guide, Heather Andrews, unraveling the captivating stories from behind the pages. Join me as I sit down with authors from the literary landscape to delve into challenges, inspirations, and untold tales that breathe life into their written worlds. Tomboy to Tom's Girl. So welcome to the show, Erica.
Hi, Heather. How are you? Nice to see you.
Nice to see you too. You flew in all the way from Vancouver for this, which is awesome.
Yeah, definitely. It's worth it.
Absolutely. When you wrote in Culture Revolution, what made you decide to write in that book?
So a number of reasons. I have a number of colleagues that sort of introduced the space to me, and I like to write. I love to write. But I never thought that I had a story to tell. And with Culture, it was one where I could share something I'd been doing for years. So I'm an educator at universities across North America. And one of the things that I do is educate and lecture. But I've never actually put it on paper. So I thought it would be a good opportunity for me to share my experiences in a different channel, as well as being able to kind of hone in on my expertise and use that and put it into a book. And it's been an incredible journey and experience.
Absolutely, it has. So the name of your chapter is Tomboy to Tom's Girl.
Yes.
And it's kind of a catchy one because there's so much packed into your chapter. So can you just take us through why that title?
So there's a number of factors that are involved in it. But when I was a little girl, I was a tomboy. And I would say 98% of my friends were all boys. But I played hockey outdoor. I loved to dig in the dirt. I loved to go underneath rocks and find bugs. And I collected frogs. And my mom would send me off to school in a dress, and my hair would come like all messed up and full of mud. But the world that I saw at that time was that we didn't have genders. So I saw a world where it didn't matter if you were male, female. I was just a person in the world, a human in the world. And so that would have been the number one factor, is that as I started to grow up and get into, adulthood as well as the workforce, that perception changed for me, where I realized that there was something that separated genders. There's sexism, there's ageism, there's so many isms now that I didn't know about when I was a little girl. And I wish I could just bottle that up. I wish I could bottle up that ability to just see the world as, we are all equal. And I see it that way. Yeah. I see the world that way still in my mind, but I don't understand when I see it different from other perspectives. So that would have been the first thing. The other piece is I recently lost my father to pancreatic cancer, and his name was Tom. Yeah. And he was one of my most, he was my mentor. He was my rock. He was an incredible human being who actually also looked at the world as 100% equal. You would meet my father and he will talk to everybody the same way. He respects everybody the same way. And he empowered that in me. He allowed me to see the world as a space and a place where we are equal, that we can empower each other. And he did that for me. So I was trying to find a number of pieces. So because I was a tomboy as a kid, that really helped to sort of catapult the idea of, let's all look at the world the way we did when we were little. Yeah. The way we saw the world with it. And then the second feature was, I am Tom's girl, and I am always going to be Tom's girl. And so it was kind of a little bit of a tribute to that as well. So there was multiple reasons.
Absolutely. So when you talk about Tomboy to Tom's Girl and how that changed, I love how you say that it was an equal way of looking at the world. Because I too was raised in rural Alberta, and I was raised as that we were all equal. Yeah. And it didn't really matter whether we played in the mud or we played volleyball. We were just who we were. And so in today's world, where we have diversity, equality, and inclusion, how has that shifted for you?
So it's shifted because I want to speak more about it. And when I was in oil and gas for a very long time, and I was predominantly the minority within that space, there was definitely a gender gap. And so now, when I first started my career, it became about how can I bridge that gap? How can I squish that gap so that there is less of this gap between, at that point it was male female, but it's catapulted into even more now because we have a very big, a diverse world of gender neutrality and trying to make equity across multiple ways, pay scales. It's not just about the sex of a person, but it's about all the equity that comes with the equity piece, which is why in business ethics, I end up teaching about this piece very, very heavily. It's a big section in my repertoire of lectures. But just, I think it's, when I was little, it wasn't even part of my thought process. And now it's like taking up half my brain because I just want to make sure that we recognize the importance of it, that we recognize that we are all humans, we are all capable of the same abilities and outcomes. Let's start to see the world like that together. And so I think just my perspective has shifted, and my intentions have shifted, and my passions have shifted, because now there's opportunity for me to share my story, but also how I became successful through that story. So by the time I was 27, I was vice president of corporate communications for multiple oil and gas and resource companies. But I clawed, I climbed, I shouted, I was very, if you could imagine, I was outspoken. But at first I took some time to go, what is happening? Like, why is this happening? And why are they not listening to me? Why can't they just hear my voice? I'm saying something, I have a really good idea. But there was a gender gap, so I was much younger at the time, and I was a woman, I was a female, and I was the only female on my team at the time. Now, as I grew into that industry, I noticed more women coming in, and I started to be their cheerleaders, because I thought that's how we can empower each other. Let's not go against each other, let's go with each other. So I remember a girlfriend of mine coined the phrase co-opetition. So we can still compete in the world, but let's do it together. And I think that comes from my team sports, like playing hockey and field hockey and rugby. But those are other pieces that came into that play. So there's a lot here, Heather. Like I think just the shift from that little girl seeing the world is actually, it's still here, but I'm just using it in a different way because I want to share that with other people that don't get it, that need to get it.
Absolutely.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely, it does. And I look forward to hearing more about the ethics piece as we go through. So in your ethics course that you teach in the business schools, what are sort of the top tiered items that you teach?
Sure. So it's business ethics. So, and that's why Culture Revolution was so important for me to get into, because it's about how do we create corporate cultures at the workplace that will treat people with respect, that will understand diversity, equity, and inclusion, that will get rid of the toxic work cultures, which are happening all over the place, by the way. So in my courses, I teach, how do we make ethical decisions? How do we treat people with an ethical leadership standpoint? So you can have transformational leadership, you can have servant leadership, but you can also create what's called ethical leadership. So these are, and they have to be at the top. So a lot of the conversations are about how we need to train and teach and educate the leaders of organization to treat people with respect, to understand what is diversity, equity, and inclusion. What does that even mean? And some of them don't even know. How do I create a culture within my workplace that empowers my team, that makes people feel valued, that makes my team motivated and want to be productive at the workplace? Because what they need to know is that one of the things I actually talk about in the book is called the profit service chain model. And I know you're going to ask me about that later, but I feel like it's coming out right now, so I'm just going to talk about it. But if you have a leader of an organization that is profit focused, that's great, it's awesome. But you need to also be sustainable in your thought process. So you need to have the triple bottom line, which is people, profit, and planet. So when a leader is looking at just the profit, sometimes a lot of other things will go by the wayside. So if they're not treating their people properly, they start to get, they lose retention in their employees, they lose motivation. So that costs more money because you have to hire more people. There's so much that happens if you don't do it this way. So if you can train people that if you treat your people well, if you treat your employees well, then you'll make the profit because they're going to be empowered, they're going to be motivated, they're going to want to work for you. And then you start to make money because the customers are happy, the employees are happy, so on and so forth. So I sort of teach that model in my ethics course. And like I said, decision making and ethics and how to create ethical cultures within organizations. And I think it's fundamental. I think it's necessary. And I think this has been a great stepping stone for me to do that.
Absolutely, and I love that. And you've gone on to publish 2 more books or be a contributing author, so we'll talk a little bit more about that.
I'd love to.
Absolutely. So as we wrap up this episode, stay tuned for more because we will be diving a bit deeper into Erica Bear's chapters and all of the business culture teachings that she does. So where can people find you on social media and follow you?
Oh, okay. So I'm on LinkedIn, which is probably my most predominant social media platform. And you can just find me under Erica Bears, Bearss. So there's double S at the end. I'm also on Instagram under Bears Biz. So BearssBiz. And then I'm also on Linktree. You can find me there as well. So 3 areas, but I would start with LinkedIn because it's sort of my most predominant where I check every single day. I hope to hear from you soon.
Let's catch the next episode with Erica as we dive a bit more into her education piece and mentorship piece of culture. As we close another chapter on Behind the Book, I want to extend our heartfelt gratitude to our wonderful authors for sharing their stories. I'm Heather Andrews, reminding you that the adventure doesn't end here. Keep turning those pages, and I will see you next time.